ZDF at Bauhaus heute mit einer wunderbaren Band aus dem Libanon angereist, inzwischen in Deutschland heimisch geworden, zum Glück, und jetzt hier in Dessau. Who Killed Bruce Lee? Hey guys, how you doing?
What's up, yo?
It's Wes, Was, Hess, Pascal und Malek, right?
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I know who killed Bruce Lee. You know who killed Bruce Lee, and if you want to know who Bruce Lee killed, just Google it, because the story is quite nice, but you've told the story so many times before. Congratulations to your first long-player record. It's really an amazing piece of shit. How do you like it so far? I mean, how amazed are you right now?
Of our own stuff. You know, there's a very cool metaphor that says never get high on your own supply. And so we're not really amazed. You know, we're like, we're okay, we're fine, we're good. We like you though. No, I'm kidding, but it's like, it's interesting.
A bit of distance, you can go back 2 meters for your safety.
No, you can't, because there's a ball behind.
But I'm not supposed to lean back because it's like, no, it's impolite. It's impolite. The rumors, if the rumors are right, you met in a club, I think of your father, right? True. In a blues club in Beirut.
Yes.
How was that?
My dad he's a bassist. He always wanted to be a bassist. He wanted to be a drummer actually, but he's a bassist because of his parents. Yeah, he used to try to sing. Like he always tried things, but mainly a bassist. And he had this club in Beirut, in Hazmieh, and people would gather and jam together. And we would be part of these musicians who would just go and play there. And this is how we met at a young age, maybe 15, 16, something like this. Yeah. We used to play with older musicians, maybe they were 40, much older.
Like really older musicians.
I used to play with my dad.
18.
Yeah.
Yeah,
no,
my dad was 18 at the time.
Minimum age on that stage was like, because they're very old blues players, like minimum age was like 60, you know, or something like 55, 60. And there was like the 14-year-olds trying to be older, you know, like with 6 hairs on their beards. It was a bit funny, but that's how we met.
And so you were the kids on stage, and the old people were laughing at you, and you said, "Ah, come on, we can make it."
They were very supportive.
Yeah,
we were laughing at them.
Yeah.
And does the club still exist?
Yes, it's still there. It's
been 23 years.
They started making food. They used to have only beer and carrots, and now they have food. They have pizzas and shit.
So they're growing.
Yeah, it's growing. It's a business that is growing.
What does your family think of you guys living in Europe, in Germany right now? Are they supporting you, or are they happy for you, or are they disappointed because you left them behind?
It's funny. I just had a conversation with my dad. I think he's going to join us for a week and live with us, like see what's going on, what's happening. Of course, the drugs will have to like go down. I'm sure my dad is watching this, but no, but. Actually, they're very supportive, because when it's a big thing in Lebanon to go out of the country for music. So once this happened, I think all our parents got like, oh, this is serious. These guys are not just making music, you know, like they're traveling.
It was like not only a secondary thing, it was like a bit farther than a secondary thing. Music was something we used to do when we finished work, got together at like 9 p.m. His grandfather owns a printing press. It's like one of the oldest printing press in an industrial area in one of the cities. So it hasn't been functional for how many years? 40. So we kind of took over, and there are walls that are missing, which is a bit frightening, and there's a dead dog in one corner, which is we're not going to talk about. Yep. But
and a prostitute.
But we got together like at 9, 10, sometimes 11 p.m. after we finished work, and a lot of things that we had to do, jammed till like 3, 4 in the morning, and then had to wake up again at 6 or 7 in the morning back to work. You know, it was very secondary, and we never, I think, thought that this could become the prime thing we do.
Work was in your case?
In my case, I used to be, towards the end, I was like the marketing supervisor for Philip Morris for Middle East and North Africa, but that's very far from what I do right now, you know? Now I smoke the cigarettes. Before I used to sell them. Yeah. So,
and you once said in an interview, you guys, that it's it's better to go out of Lebanon to make the real serious music. Why is that? I mean, is there no chance to be like a band playing gigs and doing records back in the Middle East?
No, I think on two levels. One, personally for us, we can focus more because we would be in a different country as one role, and it would be only making music. Because in Lebanon, we have our girlfriends, we have our jobs, we have our families. The energy is wasted. You can't really take it as seriously. That's one. Two, just because it's a bigger market, or just because there is a market here, you know, it's not really existent in Lebanon, and it's something that we are starting, us with 2 or 3 other bands, and it's also very good to go and see established markets, and then, you know, take from these markets, and maybe in the future go back to Lebanon and push the market so it becomes bigger and better.
If you look back, a lot of the bands that sing in English that were like managed to create hits and managed to tour all over the world, a lot of them didn't come from English-speaking countries like the UK or the US. You know, some of them came from other countries where English is not the primary language. Like, for example, you had an artist here, which is one of my favorites. He comes from Norway, Jarl Bernhoft. He was here, and that guy's from Norway, from Oslo, and he's singing in English. And now he was on Ellen DeGeneres the other day. You know, it's insane. But you always, I think, have to leave your comfort zone, wherever your comfort zone is. You have to leave it in order to put yourself under the spotlight and be like, can I make it as a musician? Is it interesting what I do to people and to audiences? Will they pick it up and move with it? Because in your comfort zone, when we play in Lebanon, a lot of people come, but they're friends and friends of friends. And so the real test, you need to leave the comfort zone to do the real test. And we need to tour as well. And it's impossible, like, you can't tour in the Middle East because, number one, there aren't the sufficient clubs, so you can't do that as a primary thing. Here in Germany only, we have around 100 shows this year, only in one country, and this is just one country out of Europe. So the potential is huge if you're taking this seriously, and if you want to do something out of it, the potential is huge. Plus, the production value here is very old. It's very mature. They know what they're doing. You know, and back in Lebanon, we have like one studio that like 90% of the artists record in, and so at some point he either doesn't have time, or if he has the time, the equipment that he uses are a bit limited. You know, he's a very creative guy, super cool. Our first EP was recorded with him, and we would have never come here if we didn't do that with him. And the sound kind of matured in Beirut. But we came here, got to Berlin, went into a studio called Riverside Studios, and like one piece of equipment in that studio, half of its cost can actually build an entire studio in Beirut. You know, so directly, if you're already good as a musician, it multiplies times 10 because cheers. It multiplies times 10 because of all the production value that exists here, and the producers and their ideas, and the cross a lot of sharing,
Collaboration.
You know, a lot of collaborations, a lot of people that went in and out of the studio when we were recording. For example, one of the people we used to listen to, which is the singer of Archive, came into the studio like for a day or two. What was Craig Walker? So he came in the studio, he had a listen, and you know, that's interesting, and it puts you under pressure because fuck that guy. Like, I used to listen to that guy when I had my first girlfriend for 5 years, you know, and I was like, and now he's listening to me. That's stressful, but that's a good amount of stress. That you
Positive stress.
Yeah, you can't get that in Beirut. It's impossible.
So leaving your comfort zone is a good reason to go to Germany, but what do your girlfriends say?
I
You
think
wanna play this
Hasib
game?
needs to answer that question.
My girlfriend is Deutsch, and I'm super happy.
You're the lucky guy.
Yeah.
And does she live in Münster as well?
She's from Bayern.
From Bayern. And she lives in Bayern, or do you live together right now?
No, I just visit her when we're off the tour.
And you met her here in Germany, or before that?
In Allgäu, we had a concert, and it was a crazy night, and things got even more crazy.
So Germany is treating you well, right?
Us, not so much.
Yeah, I suppose.
They're in trouble.
Yeah, we're in trouble.
So one reason leaving the comfort zone, but maybe you can describe how you ended up in Berlin, Germany. There was this guy, Dave Gapper, from the H Blocks, right? Yeah, it's his fault. He's standing right there. Former singer of a band called the H Blocks. One of my heroes, actually, when I was young. It was great. So, and he came to Beirut, and what happened then?
We got drunk.
Yeah.
That's always a good one.
He was organizing a huge event for Red Bull, huge compared to the Lebanese music scene back then. So 3,500 people, 2 big bands, local bands, us and Mashra Leila. And we were facing each other musically. And he produced the whole thing. And after the gig, he's like, guys, I like your music, I like your energy on stage. Maybe I can give your EP to some of my friends in Germany.
I like
maybe
your music,
touring.
but can you stop being Arabs?
And can you stop sweating on the camera, please? And yeah. So it was really, we took it seriously, but we weren't like really into, because he doesn't know that we have Lebanese passports. It's impossible to get a visa. It's really tough shit, you know. But little by little, he came back on New Year's Eve, partied with us, and we built a trust between each other, and we just
Bonded.
jumped.
Not partied, he bonded with us.
He bonded, yeah.
No,
But bondage.
No.
Yes. And so
Alcohol.
we did the jump with him, and we're managed by a German company from Bavaria, very crazy guys that we love, and Brainstorm Music, and they're booking us gigs all over Germany, Austria, Switzerland.
But then you came to Paris, I guess. There was some Paris event. What was that about?
Yeah, exactly. We had a gig in La Boule Noire in Paris. It was a cultural gig that we had with another band, another Lebanese band, and we right away thought of having David meet us there. Like we told him, David, can you meet us in Paris, because we have this gig? Come, like, see us. And he had the idea to call one of his very close friends, that is the owner of the management, and. The guy took a train, got to the concert, watched it. Next day, he was writing the contract.
He had the deal. Nice one.
Yeah, that was a quick one.
That was very quick. That was like German quick, you know.
Yeah.
Accuracy, yes.
Efficiency.
Yeah, efficiency.
You just
Fast, but we're not efficient. But we're fast. You know. Like,
do you like German efficiency?
it can get a bit tiring.
It could be intimidating
Yeah.
Why
sometimes.
is Deutsche Bahn late sometimes?
I don't know. I mean, it's fucked up, isn't it?
One time the train stopped for half an hour, 2 meters away from the Hauptbahnhof.
But that's Deutsche Bahn. Deutsche Bahn is like the missing point in the rule. You know, you always have to have.
It's like Lebanese taxis, you know?
Yeah.
If you piss him off, he takes out a gun and like...
No, but in Lebanon, everybody would have opened the windows and left already through the windows. But the problem is you can't open windows on the Deutsche Bahn.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. Now, the Deutsche Bahn is the exception out of the rule. You have rules, but you always have to have an exception to prove the rule. That's
The exception to the rule is Malik, because he lost his passport on the Deutsche Bahn as well.
Last week.
But yeah.
Talking about passports, you mentioned passports, and you too. I mean, I have this friend. He's from Palestine, but his family is living in Lebanon, and now he's in Germany, and he's been trying to get a German passport for years, and fighting not only for a passport, but also for a permit to stay here.
Yeah.
In your case, it was pretty easy, wasn't it? I mean, how did it happen?
What does he do?
He's a teacher.
He's a teacher.
Is it easier for artists to get
Yes.
a permit?
It's because you can go through the cultural channels in Lebanon, like the Goethe Institute and stuff like that. So it's easier to get to the people who will facilitate the process.
But we also had a lot of
No,
help.
but
You need, like,
to be
15,000
to be very honest,
particularly-
we followed the rule. Man, our big man next to us is a fucking lawyer. We followed the rules perfectly. Like we did everything perfectly. You know,
Like
we
we
went
took,
to
8
every
months?
meeting. It took 8 months, but we went to every meeting. We put enough money in the bank to get the residency, to make sure that the government is sure that we're not going to be on the streets at some point. We have enough to survive here, even if we don't make any money from the music. So it was like, there are a set of rules and you have to respect them. Every country has its set of rules, and we really we're anal about respecting the rules and starting on the right track, because we're not after the passport. It's not the passport we want. We just want to gig and be able to tour here. We're fine, but
I personally want a Chinese passport. I don't.
but if it's coming from Palestine,
They're gonna rule the world in 5 years.
Yeah,
but that's going to be very difficult.
Yeah?
There are no rules for a Chinese passport.
Okay.
But I can understand coming from Palestine wanting to have another passport because it's hell down there.
So difficult.
But in Lebanon, it's not hell. It's like, it's beautiful. It's like nothing is happening. There are no real problems. So we don't really need another passport. So I think if the government knows that, probably they know that we're here for music. And you have to do some things if you want a work permit. And we did them. And it was so simple. You know?
So you don't have to worry about anything about passports or residency?
I lost my passport, so I have to worry about that.
So what happened then? I mean...
It was 2 days ago, so I still don't know. I'm going to stay here, I
Let's
think.
call the police and see what happens.
Yeah, that would be
Ich hab
good.
Polizei, bro. So, yeah.
Problem, ich hab Polizei.
Wow! Ich hätte das niemals gedacht. Eine Band aus dem Libanon zitiert Jan Böhmermann, den deutschen Comedian.
Yeah, we watched the video. He's cool. He's nice. Yeah.
He's a cool guy.
He's interesting.
It's very interesting. Let's. What do you think? Let's talk about music. Yeah, good one. You're calling yourself a Lebanese rock and roll band. What is the Lebanese thing in your rock and roll?
We called ourselves that?
Yeah. I think I did.
You did?
It was just to add some pepper to the rock and roll thing.
Because
We have no clue what doesn't what it means.
because if you would say it, if you told me that you're from London, I would believe it.
You would believe it, yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
With the face and everything?
I mean, listening to the
That's
music.
the Lebanese side, is like the hair.
So, but you don't consider your music as Lebanese influenced
No,
by...
it does. It has.
of course it
It
is.
has
course it
every.
is.
Actually, in the groove, you can in some songs or most of the songs, you can pick it up. It's just there is some like shoulder moving, you know. It's like that's
the shoulder moving.
That's what they call it.
I think the influence, why it is Lebanese, because it doesn't follow any sort of movement or genre, because the big cities where a lot of music exists, like for example probably UK, New York, Paris, whatever, Berlin, there's a trend and you kind of have to follow it, you know, or else you're considered very underground and you're going to live for this long, you know. Now the trend for Berlin, it's been a long time, is a lot of electronic music. And we lived in Berlin and we tried to discover Berlin bands, like independent Berlin bands. We couldn't really find any, you know what I mean? It was, there's a trend right now that's happening. And the good thing about Beirut is that there isn't really a trend, and you can kind of go with the flow and do what you like to do, and you take a bit from all the internet that you get hit by. So you take a bit from New York, a bit from the music scene in the UK, a bit from the Arabic music scene that we're influenced by, and you kind of combine that a lot in a like melting pot, and you try to create your own sound. Do we have a very different sound than every other band out there? I don't know, I can't judge, but we're not trying hard, you know what I mean? We're writing music that we grew up listening to and we grew up kind of influenced by. And this last album is totally free, is what we want to do and how we want to express ourselves. No sell in it whatsoever. There's not even 1% sell in it, you know? We're not doing anything because it's popular in a certain place. We just did our music, and we're as much astonished as you that it got picked up. You know what I mean? We just did what we wanted to do, and we found the best producer that did that for us. So our producer, Victor Van Vogt, he actually understood exactly what we want. He looked at the band when we were playing live. He took a shitload of notes, and he said, you guys have something, and I'm not gonna change anything. I'm just gonna magnify it in the record. But I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to tell you to do things to sell more, or tell you to move your vocals a bit there, or do something different, or become more catchy. You just do your thing, and I'm going to try and get it on record and make it sound nice. You know, so it did.
The Lebanon is supposed to be a country...
It's so sexy how they call it.
The Lebanon. The Lebanon.
What do you say?
We just say Lebanon.
The Lebanon.
Of them Lebanon,
I say the Lebanon. Yeah.
Yeah, and in English or in Arabic, it's like
just Lebanon.
Germany, you know?
Germany.
But if
Yeah.
we say the Germany, it
It's
makes
nice.
Germany so fucking sexy.
Okay,
Germany.
the Germany.
One and only
So,
Germany.
the Lebanon is supposed to be a country, you know, full of contrasts, full of also conflicts, and actually, to me, it sounds like a place to be very creative, because there's so much happening. There's so many different kinds of societies, so many different kinds of people and music influences. And now you live in Münster.
With 3 horses and 2 cows.
It's a very good point.
It's a very good point, isn't
Yes,
it?
but it's the contrast of us living in all this happening and different cultures, and now living with cows that might create something new as well, you know, to a certain
3
extent.
new songs just about milk and different kinds of milk. Yeah.
And a lot of cowbell.
Different kind of cowbells. A lot of cowbells.
A lot of
in
cowbells.
our music.
You have a lot of cowbells.
Yeah.
From now on.
To understand, we're not at the home. We're always touring. We spend 2 or 3 days at home. We cook, we sleep, and then we go back in 7 different cities. So it's not like just.
We're not
staying.
technically living in, we're living everywhere, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, regarding your tour, you play in Lörrach, Bamberg, Reutlinge, Immenstadt, Aalen. How do you like it so far? I mean, the beginning of the tour.
There's something great about these cities is these are cities even Germans would never visit in their whole lives.
No.
So we can
Some of them.
not all cities. I'm saying there are cities.
Yeah,
where, like Lauda Königshofen is a place that I told this to many German people. They're like,
Village. It has 1 church and 1 bar, and that's it. Like
so we can show
And
off.
they're kind of in the same building, you know? The church and the bar. Church is on the 2nd
brewery
floor.
is the
Bar is
monk
on the
and
3rd.
We can show off on Germans that we've been here and there, and you know, it's like it's cool.
And what do you what kind of inspiration do you get from these small cities in Germany?
Actually, they're the best. They're the most.
Very warm. The warmest vibe.
People are very curious.
Like because the people that live there are very like appreciate like every single thing, all the aspect of the music, very welcoming, you know. So we get a very warm vibe from those people.
For example,
Really,
Lauda,
it's different than the big cities, than Berlin, than a lot of other big cities.
When we got to that small town, Lauda Königshofen, they did something super cool, which is they got a lady that was there. She's also from the Middle East. They got her to 2 days in advance to cook for us. So and because Arabic cooking, you simmer for like a day, you know. There isn't like the quick and then it's done. You have to simmer stuff all the time. So like she simmered and cooked for like 2 days, and they didn't tell us anything. They kept it as a surprise. So when we got to Lauda Königshofen, there were like a group of guys from the Middle East and a very nice old lady that knows her shit very well when it comes to cooking. And there was these like huge,
The best.
like the huge like dining table with everything on it. And when you go to Berlin, they send the pizza your way, you know. But that's the kind of heart that goes into these small cities, and that's what we're trying to talk about. Musically, everywhere is cool, but everything other than musically, the way people welcome you, and they're so happy that like a band is coming to their town and they're playing there. They're so interested, and they make an effort that is really phenomenal, and it keeps us all like in awe of wow, you know. And the encores are like always like 3 or 4, you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, again, we don't want to leave. We want to stay here till morning. And we run out of songs. We always run out of songs. And then we try to fish for a cover that we used to do like 5 years ago.
3 hours. It's
Yeah, it's
sometimes
crazy.
insane.
I mean, I grew up in a city called Lorsch, 10,000 inhabitants, and if you
Lebanon, 10,000
and if you would have played back in the days, then everybody would be
All the
freaking
town
out.
would be there. Yeah.
The whole town would be freaking out because
Yeah, we felt that in a couple of towns, and it's so interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah.
which song is functions better live? Is it more songs like Born Addicted, or is it more pool party songs? They're very different songs.
Where you are in the set, I think.
It's a good question because it kind of goes up in intensity. like a DJ set, but
It
with
also- it
four
also-
musicians. So you start with the deserty feel, the rock and roll feel, and you go more into the dancey rock and roll.
This is what you do, right?
Mostly, I guess, the dance part.
The
That
dance part.
catches the people, they feel more involved in the music and the show itself.
Well, our show is different. Our show, okay, maybe that's the most Lebanese thing about us, and that's what everybody has been telling us because they watch a lot of different bands here. The most Lebanese thing about us is our live show because for us, there's a word I'm going to teach you in Arabic called khoshbosh. Like khoshbosh. Exactly. Khoshbosh means like you go into a room, you find like a pretty lady, and you directly go and talk to her. You don't sit for like half an hour in the bar, look at her, have some time, and then go order a drink, walk around her for like, you just directly go into it, you talk to her. When we see an audience, we directly involve them in the music. And we do that, and it comes naturally. We're not even trying, and we involve them in the music. I sometimes also go into the audience, and everybody at some point in that one room feels that it's a relationship. And it's not a band that is coming to play for an audience and then it's going to leave, hey, my next song is called blah, blah, blah. You know, it's like we involve people much more in the lyrics and the music. We make sure that this is fun for both of us. It's not like we're coming to play for you and you better appreciate it. That's the most Arab thing about Who Killed Bruce Lee, because it's like a big fucking party every single time. That's like the kind of thing that's different.
Okay, a big fucking party is going to happen here at ZDF at Bauhaus. Who Killed Bruce Lee? Thank you very much.
Danke.